Unlock your true potential with the Leadership Community, where we empower men to embrace self-awareness and authenticity. Introducing the Leadership Community, where we believe in helping men become the best version of themselves. It all starts with self-awareness, and we encourage men to take a step back, pause, and reflect on their thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Embrace their authenticity and break free from societal expectations. Here are just a few testimonies from individuals. Leadership helped me develop self-awareness and embrace my authentic self. And now I feel more confident and fulfilled. Question: are you ready to unlock your potential? If so, join the Leadership Community today. All right, fellas, welcome to another episode of the Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Roberts. On the Leadership Podcast, our goal is to influence, inspire, and ignite men to make the shift in their personal leadership by becoming the best version of themselves and unlocking true potential. It's here we'll share tools, tips, and resources to ignite self-awareness and authenticity. I want to say thank you for taking a vital step to becoming the better version of you. On today's Leadership Podcast, we're talking with Chou Hallegra. She is a best-selling author, sought-after speaker, certified master life coach, as well as a mental health inclusion consultant. She's on a mission to help people rise above their circumstances and live a fulfilling life. Family, help me give a warm virtual welcome to Chou Hallegra. Chou, welcome to the Leadership Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Dwayne. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Before we came on, I asked you to pronounce your name, and I just thought I thought I was pronouncing your name as Chow, and you said to me, "No, it's Chou, Dwayne." Explain that for the people for me, please.
Sure. So my full first name is actually Chou Mart. And so that CH in French is pretty much pronounced as SH in English. And my name is, I guess my parents were being creative. Chou, like in French, when you say mon petit chou, it's someone you cherish, someone you love. It's like saying like sweetie, honey. And then Marthe in French is like Martha in English. So that's actually my full first name. And I don't know, growing up, people didn't, nobody chose to call me Martha or Marthe in French. Everybody was calling me Chou. So Chou stuck, and then that's who I am. So it depends what country you are, If I can be Chou, your petit chou, like someone you cherish. I can be Chou, your shoe, like friends who often say, I'm calling for flip flops. I'm like, okay, I don't have high heels for you. Let me go from there.
I love it. No, I think that's so beautiful. I just want to say thank you for taking time and rocking with us today. So listen, before we get started, Chou, please tell the people a little bit about who you are and how you desire to serve.
Sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of Grace Nope Consulting, where I train, coach, teach, write, consult to promote belonging and well-being for all, one individual and one organization at a time. The way I serve for individually, when I work with people individually, I provide leadership coaching. I provide career coaching, emotional wellness coaching. And then when I'm dealing with a team, we do along the same lines per se, but we're doing more as a group setting, where it's workshop training, can come into an organization and assist with any challenges they have around diversity and equity. And I always take, because of my mental health background, I take this trauma-informed care approach to everything I do. And I also am very, very intentional in being personal, if you want, like take a person-centered approach in the tools and strategies, because I believe wellness, belonging, and well-being per se are not a one-size-fits-all.
Oh no, that's good. No doubt, it's not a one size fit all. Is there a particular community though that you have in mind that you serve, or what?
I meet people where they are. I've had both the pros and the challenge of working with different individuals from all walks of lives, all levels of corporate ladders, if you want. I've worked with people who are maybe just starting right out of college, sometime in college, figuring out what their career could be, and I work with CEO at C-suite, trying to decide, make big decisions for an international company. So I love that. I love the diversity in what I do, because there's no two moments or no two sessions are alike. But it also keeps me humble in the sense where I can see, how people can go in their career, in the personal life as well, because I do both that personal and professional development, but also, see that no matter how you are, you still need support. We all need support.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do need support. Now, before we deep dive into to why we really here, I did do a deep dive, and I found you from hold on, Brisvilla,
Congo,
Congo.
Brazzaville, Congo. Yeah.
Yeah, tell now, how did you come from Congo to the U.S.? Give us a little backstory there.
Oh, what does love have to do with it? I'll start there. It was never my own love story. It was my dad's love story. So my dad actually met a woman from the US, my stepmom, and they, I guess they fell in love. She came to Congo when I was younger. I believe I was probably 5 when she first came to Congo, and stayed there for a few years. And then we had some civil war there. So then she moved back to the US, and then we followed her. Back. I think the first time I came to the US, I was 10, and then stayed for a couple years. And then my dad couldn't find a job. He's a medical doctor by trade, but couldn't easily find a job in his field in the US without having to go back to school and do residency here. He had a family to feed. So, long story short, he enlisted with Doctors Without Borders and actually went to Rwanda during the genocides there, after the genocide, I should say, in Rwanda. And so I went back to Congo then, was there for a good 7, 8 years, and then came back here almost 20 years ago now. Maybe 20 years this year,
Oh,
2024.
wow, awesome. Okay, man, that's pretty enlightening. And so do this for me. I mean, I don't know much about Congo. What's
Sure.
some things about Congo that really stands out? Its beauty, its culture, things of that nature.
Yeah, I think from a cultural standpoint, everyone is family. And that's something, even after being here for 20 years as an adult, I really miss. I miss that sense of community. Um, and I've met a lot of friendly people who became like family to me, but there's still the way we do social interactions, if you want, or just the social lives in the US is totally different than we do it in Africa. And there's, yes, there's things that I wish could be different. Like I remember growing up where anyone can stop at your house any time of the day. That, for example, now as an adult, I don't always might not always appreciate that. I want a little heads up and know who's coming. But with the same lens, it's no the same token. It's also very, here's someone that's extreme. I remember telling my mom once, came away, she was asking me, and I said, no, yeah, nobody's stopped here, for a couple months. It's winter, and she's like, what? Nobody came to your house for 2 months? What have you done to them? So she automatically assumed that I had done anything to my friends, and and that's why nobody stops by. I'm like, no, mom, that's just the culture here. We might meet, at work, we meet in a favorite place of worship, we meet in a cafe, restaurant, wherever, but we don't always socialize in our homes and just sit down and do life together. That is one thing that I
Yeah.
miss. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. I like that too because I'm like you, especially I mean in the United States. Send me a
Mhm.
text, let me know you're on the way.
Right.
And no, we don't live life like that. We go
Right.
out, we
Right.
meet people where they are. That's phenomenal,
Mhm.
man. Good stuff. All right, so now unpack a little bit for me now. We've been back and forth between Congo, been back in the United States. Where did that passion derive from? What brought you to where you are right now?
Ooh, yeah. How far should we go back? Should we go? So I think with everything I do, I have this motto, that if you want, that says that if we turn our stumbling blocks into stepping stones, we find joy on
Mm,
the journey. And that's
yeah.
honestly how I started Grace and Hope Consulting. So initially, I remember when I started, I had my last child who actually just turned 10 a couple weeks ago. He had a lot of health issues, in and out the hospital. And I had to quit the job that I enjoyed and stay home and take care of him. But inside of me, there was always like this drum, like I love what I do, I love the skills, and I love being a mom, but I need to find a way to still be able to use my professional skills per se. And so
Yeah.
initially, that's how Grace Consulting started, for me to be able to use my professional skills in my own time, right? I kind of call the shots and have balance, and and find the groove that I need to still be present with my sick child. But even with starting that, so that was maybe what pushed me into it. But why I do what I do is because I've been there. Right. Initially, when we
Mm.
started with Grace Consulting, I was focusing on mental health and disability services only. One, because I have lived experience in mental health, and I remember when I needed support, people who could be person centered, trauma informed, culturally competent, and couldn't find them. And I had people who loved me, who appreciate my faith, my beliefs, and could support me in that. But when I brought the faith, I brought mental health onto the conversation, they didn't know what to do with it, and vice versa. I have great therapists, great psychologists, great people who are there to support me, but then they couldn't connect the things that made me who I am, who I was even back then. Right? It was not as person centered as I wanted it to be or I needed it to be in order for me to achieve my emotional mental wellness. And so when I started, that was it. And then I had children with special needs, so that was my drive into the disability field. As we evolved, what I came to find was that I have clients who were doing well mentally. We work together. They're finally feeling like, oh yeah, I've achieved that. I've reached a point in my life where I feel emotionally and mentally I'm doing well, but I don't know what to do with my life because I operated
Mm.
maybe so much into the depression, so much into the trauma that now I don't know how to embrace this new life that I have. So I'm like, oh, this is a need. I didn't anticipate this. So then with all the schooling I done, I went back and start, learn and start being certified and more into coaching so that we can continue with people on that journey. Not just get you in a place where you're emotionally and mentally well, but when you're there, can you embrace who you are as an individual? Can you, unlearn the patterns that you had to use to survive, and then shift into something that helps you thrive? And so that's when the
That's good.
coaching came into play. And as we evolve, people start saying, "Oh, this is good." But when I'm fine, I'm home, I'm finding my community. When I go to work, my goodness, the sky is falling. And I'm like, well, we need to do something about that, right? So then I started, people start calling me to do more trainings for corporate, going into working with teams and to team building and leadership skills and communication skills, and emotional intelligence, and so the soft skills that we often forget when we enter
Yeah.
the workplace. So people work so hard on themselves doing well, and then when they go to work, it's like they're re-traumatized over and over again. They go to work and they're
Mm.
falling to pieces, like they say, and it's not because of lack of trying. It's because the environment in which they are not cultivating, if you want, that well-being and that belonging that we all need, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I will evolve to doing more work with corporate. So that's kind of the backstory, and it just every time there's a need, as long as aligned with a vision, empowering people to achieve mental and emotional wellness, reach their full potential and live fulfilling lives, then we keep doing it. We're there to serve. I keep learning more so I
That's
can serve
good.
more.
That's real good. I heard you say too that you have delivered experience. You were challenged with some mental health issues. What were some of those challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, sure. So I first became aware of my own mental health challenges when I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. Now, oh goodness, now I'm dating myself. She's going to be 18 in April, and I don't even know what that happened. I think I just had her 2 months ago. But anywho, so I remember, I not only that was little maybe a couple of years after I came back to the U.S. So I'm trying to assimilate into quote unquote this new culture. Although I was raised by a Caucasian American mom, I have a lot of the American culture, still speaking English way back, from Africa. But living here as an adult now on my own, assimilating this culture was not always easy. And then as a first time mom, with not having my own biological mom or any mom per se around me that was supporting me in that journey, and having that sense of community that I mentioned, like having the woman from my culture per se walk along my side there and being there with me, I didn't have that. So lack of support, first time mom, and then a lot of unresolved trauma I didn't even know I had. It all hit
Mm.
me when I got pregnant. So for some people are probably familiar with postpartum depression. Mine never went away. It just felt like it just lingered. So I
No.
remember my daughter was 2. Then I'm like, a year and a half, I believe. I said, I need to do something about this. I can't continue living like this. So I reached out and started getting mental health service for myself. And that's when I started seeing, kind of having those challenges I mentioned where, I had people in different silos who can support me, but no one could see the full picture of who I was or integrate all of that to give me the support that I actually needed. So that's how my journey started. How I overcome was, one, seeking help, being honest with myself, and realizing that the things whether it was the trauma from the past, from my childhood, that it was not resolved, that was not my fault. Nothing would quote
Hmm.
unquote was wrong with me. Things that happened to me that, impacted how I see the world, how I saw myself, how I just did life, period, like in general. And so I had to admit that to myself and realize that I took myself as far as I could at that
Hmm.
young age, as a, young adult, and that now I needed others to jump in, and come and ride this wave with me and give me the tools and strategies that I did not have on my own. And so that's where I think, my recovery, as we call it, mental health, kind of started. And I often tell people, say, well, you do this for a living now, so like you're all clear, you're good. I'm like, well, it's almost like, when you have cancer, and I know it's not quite as much, I don't want to compare diagnoses, but it's like you always have in the back of your head, like, oh goodness, yeah, I can be in remission, but it can come back anytime. So you continue to live with this, maybe not fear, but a little bit of a hint, if you want, of like, yeah, I need to tread these waters, gently, because I know how fragile, my emotions, my mental health, my health can be. And so with that in mind, as much as what I'm doing now, I also know that I have to continually be pouring into my own well-being in order to help others do the same. Oh, I lost your sound again.
Oh, I'm sorry. It leads me right into emotional wellness. Earlier, you said you just wanted to help people. People kept coming to you, and let's see here. I wrote helping people embrace where they are now. You
Mhm.
know, what's some of the challenges when it comes to emotional wellness, and that's hindering people from reflecting or embracing where they are now.
And I'll say, just like my own case, unresolved trauma is the number one thing, because trauma kind of creates this framework through which we see ourselves, the world, and others, right? And so unless we
Mhm.
start cleaning those trauma lenses so we can see things differently, we start interpreting everything that happens to us, everything that we experience, everything we see and hear through those lenses, and that definitely becomes a barrier to embracing where we are now and where we're trying to go. So that's one thing. And I think the second one will be stress in general. Stress, I call it the silent killer, because often, we sometimes we
Absolutely.
just go through the motions, right? We do life. I go to work, I take care of my family, I do what I need to do, I'm checking the boxes, I can be shining out there, but internally I know, like, literally my mind is feeling frazzled because every little thing takes more energy. Every little thing kind of puts me on edge a little bit. Yeah, I'm starting to get a little irritable with, my loved ones, and forgetting things, or sleeping too much or too little. And so if we start, kind of being more intentional also about listening to our own bodies, I think that it's another way to unlock that, to start embracing where we are. Because we can numb all of that, pretend it's not there, because out there for the rest of the world, we're doing well, right? But internally, we're stuffing, suppressing, things that
Yeah.
need to be dealt with. And so that's not good.
I think some of this I understand is that we lie to ourselves. We
Oh,
don't we
yes.
don't want to we don't want to face uh, the deep cognitive or trauma issues, and therefore we
Mhm.
lie to ourselves, and we wonder why we can't overcome where we are, or we can't
Yes.
we can't move any further in life. And you have to embrace that, right?
Yes, yes. Oh, I agree with you. One thing I tell all my clients, from the first session, I say it starts with the truth. And I'm
Mm,
not going to pull things out of you that you don't want to share. Like I tell my clients, like,
right.
this is your time. You are guiding this ship. I'm just riding along with you and being your navigator, per se. So you can make the decision. You can refuse, reject anything and everything I say. But at the end of the day, I want you to have your own opinion, make your own decisions, because it's only then that you can fully follow through with it, and then change start happening. Right. So, but in order for you
Right.
to do that, you have to be you have to be honest with yourself. So if you're not honest with yourself, you can't be honest with me. And if you're not honest with the people that are supporting you, nothing is happening. Nothing is changing. We're going to keep
Yeah.
living the same old thing and expecting that, something new is going to happen. And we all know that's not possible. Right. So yes,
Yeah.
definitely stop lying to yourself. If you don't want to tell, you shouldn't have to tell everybody. Like, that's also, there's boundaries there. But whatever it's going with you,
Mhm.
find some trusted people. But it starts with you acknowledging first what's going on within yourself. And I had to do that for
Mhm.
me. And I know that's honestly, that's the first step, to any change. It's like acknowledging, this is where I am and I want to go somewhere else. Right. Just like if you turn your GPS on your phone, or, what device you have, it's going to either ask you or determine first your starting point in order to determine what directions they're going to know, it's going to take you to navigate to point B. So if you don't know where point A is, how are you going to get to point B?
Yes. Yeah. And so many people don't even take time to look at where they are now. They're trying to jump to the next step. They never did the internal boy, I like to call it the reflection boy in their own life to really
Yes.
get clear. It's almost like scripture. How you gonna
Mhm.
tell your neighbor he got a speck in his eye when you got the log in your own eye? And you have to
Right.
even do that from a self-reflection point, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
no, that's real good.
Thanks
Real
for
good.
bringing that self-reflection, though. I think that, again, that is the key to personal development. Like, you can't change anything, move anything, improve anything if you're not taking time to reflect. So I do with my clients
Yeah.
for every session, we're going to reflect what happened at last session, what happened since last session, and then we start seeing, okay, where do we go from here?
Where we go from here. That's good. Now, I do have a question though. Are you clinically based or are you just coaching and consulting?
So a little bit
And
of both. So here's what oh, go
okay,
ahead. Sorry.
no, finish your statement. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
You said
so
a little
here's
bit
what
of
I
both.
found. Yeah, so a little bit of both. So my background, I have a master's in human services with a focus on executive leadership, but then I did postgrad training in rehabilitation counseling. And some of the things are not on my website now, but I've held certifications in trauma, in grief, in anxiety treatment. And what I found for a lot of my clients, especially my professional clients, there are a lot of stigma around quote unquote therapy and mental health support. And
Mm,
also being someone who sat at the other side of the table or in that other chair, I've seen how sometimes you can get stuck in the therapy mode that you don't move forward with the life you're trying to create. Right. And
mm,
so for those reasons, because I wanted to be able to do both, I want to meet people where they are and deal with some of the past. But then I don't want you to be sitting there talking to me about the past for 20 years either, right? I want you to live those 20 years fully and then move the needle forward. So that's why then we kind of combine with the coaching. Right. And because I
okay.
do both, I chose not to be licensed. So I am, and I share that with my clients. It's no, there's nowhere you're going to see me saying that no, I'm a licensed clinical therapist, because I don't, one, it's not true, and two, I'm never going to misrepresent my role, my skills. I tell people I'm a mental health consultant. I have training in mental health, been held certain certifications, multiple certifications in mental health, and so that I can meet you there, and then also bring in the coaching model to move you forward.
Real good. No, I appreciate that. Thank you for that transparency too. People need to know, as well as know that, yeah, we often looking for mentors or coaches, but we can only motivate and inspire. You have to do the hard work. And sometimes the hard work might be going to get therapy, and so
Yeah,
I definitely recommend getting that help.
yeah, I have
All
no
right.
problem
So,
referring
oh,
people.
yeah,
Sorry
no
about
doubt.
that.
No doubt.
Yes.
No doubt. All right, so I want to transition to something else too. I heard you say, and that is leadership. Man, how are you helping organizations, and how are you helping people unpack their personal leadership?
Yeah, and it starts with that reflection that you were talking earlier. So start reflecting on our own skills. What do we bring to the table? Because often, and then with that, we're defining, if you want, what it is leadership. Sometimes we think it's a title. It's not. It's influence, right? But all of us are
Mm,
leaders, no matter where we are, in our homes, in the communities, in any sphere we find ourselves in. We can be leader. We can influence, or we can be influenced. So no matter where you are, to determine, okay, what am I bringing to the table? And do I need to be the one influencing right now, or do I need to be the one receiving? And to be a
mm.
healthy leader, we have to be able to have both in different times, different scenarios, different situations, right? And so
Hold on,
so
slow
we start
down,
there
slow
first.
down. Shoot, slow down. You
Sorry.
said that was good. They need that. We need to know how to do both. That's good.
Yes.
So unpack that. Unpack. Hey, how do we learn to do both?
Yeah.
Because to your point, we are leaders, and being able to receive guidance
Hmm.
is key for leadership. Unpack some of that for us, please.
Yeah. So I have I have a lot of saying things that I throw out there. My clients love to repeat it back to me. I can't follow you if you're not following anyone.
Mm,
So, meaning if you're going to be a leader to me in any area, I want to make sure that you are also being led somehow, some way, right? Because
yeah.
otherwise, you're not growing, and I'm just getting things that you're regurgitating instead of getting new information, new resources, new skills, new mentorship. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
with that,
Yeah.
so if as a leader you are as intentional for your own development as you are to pouring out into other people's lives, then that's when honestly it creates growth in both directions, upward and downward per se, and even sideways. Like it helps everyone. So what I tell
Y-
leaders is, yes, have your goals for what you're doing with your, subordinates, your followers, whoever you're supporting. Then I ask you the same questions. What are your own goals for your own life, your own development, and who's supporting you in that? Find the people who align with what it is that you're trying to do, where it is that you're trying to go, who are really doing that, and let them mentor you. And mentorship can look so many different ways, right? Sometimes I have mentors that I never met physically or even never talked to them. Maybe it's a book that,
Yeah.
I'm following the writings per se. I'm following the videos on social media or on YouTube. But even with that, I would caution you that only can go so far. Let's just be real, right? So I have people I can call
Yeah.
mentors that I know, like, yeah, they know this helped me in my development. But then there's also, okay, if I'm asking one-on-one people to invest in me, not, and this is not from business, just I'm talking the leadership, no, per se. So I'm asking people to invest their time, their energy, right? Their intellect, their emotions for me to mentor them, to me to lead them. I need to be able to do that for myself. Because otherwise, I
Yeah.
think otherwise
Yeah.
I'm kind of a hypocrite. Let's be real, right? Because if I cannot do
Well,
that for
leaders got to
me,
be
why would I
learners.
have you do that for me? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, to your point, leaders have to be learners. If we're not learning, I mean, the truth of the matter, if we're leading, we're influencing other people. What we're really doing is depositing. We're
Yes.
sharing. We disseminating. And what happens when you deposit, disseminate, and give away? You start depleting in
There you
in
go.
in yourself, right? So you
There
have
you
to be
go.
in this place of growth and development and
Mm-hmm.
always
Mm-hmm.
learning, refreshing yourself, revising yourself, and learning new things so you can be able to go out and impact more people. To your point, expand to the left and right too, not just up and down.
Yes,
That's so
there
good.
you go. There you go.
That's
And
so
I've
good.
had clients who told me, like, well, in this like faith example, client would say, well, I feel bad about leaving my church. I love my pastor, I love
Mm,
my community, but I don't feel like I'm not learning anything new because I've been there for 5 years. I've heard all them sermons, right? So to the point again, if you want to be depositing, after a
oh,
while,
wow.
people get, get tired of the same stuff. If they want to go, they want new things. So you need to have new things to give them.
Yeah, but what happens to the people? Because you hit something. You've been in this
Mhm.
place for 5 years. You keep getting the same reverb message or the repeated message, and you
Mhm.
stagnate in your own growth. What do you say to them people? Hey, what? I guess, yeah. What do you say to them people that's feeling stagnant, feeling stuck in their own leadership? They seem to think. I keep hearing the same. I keep hearing everything on repeat. What do you say to them?
So I often say, let's start revisiting your goals first. Back to reflection. You're going to hear me say this many times. And I always go back to that reflection, right? It's like, when's the last time you felt you learned something new? Where was that thing?
Mm,
Who was involved? What about it kind of ignited a fire inside of you? And then we start
hmm
building from there because maybe you outgrow the circle in which that you're trying to impact, or maybe your interests, have changed, and that's okay too. You have to give yourself permission to grow, because if you're trying to make you as a leader, as you're trying to help others grow, you should be growing too. And this is just again just me again. I feel like I cannot be the same person today that I was tomorrow that I am today. So if I meet you
hmm
tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow I have something new to say that, oh yeah, something has changed, right? So because if I'm not, then not only I have nothing new to give, but also that's when we start slowly, stagnating, right? I'm not making progress. So
Yeah.
revisit those goals that you have first. And then also realize when you visit those goals, it might be writing new goals. And as you
hmm
write those new goals, be true to yourself and remember that you are following a goal, you're not following a person. I'm all about
mm
loyalty, I'm all about community. But at the end of the day, if we're no longer walking together, I'm doing you and myself a disservice if I keep clinging to you and we're not walking the same lane.
Mm.
You might be physically
Alignment.
there, but
I love.
emotionally disconnected because I'm looking for something bigger and you're still maybe on an interest level. Maybe that's your playing field and that's okay. But maybe I'm no
Mm.
longer there and I need to be okay with moving forward and still respecting you and
That's a
supporting you from a
transitional
distance.
point too. That's a transitional point. You have to grow aware. It's almost like going from 2023 to 2024, and you're still
Exactly.
taking the same old luggage into 2024.
Mm-mm.
You going into
That
you may
ain't
be
gonna
going
work,
into a new
right?
season. Right. You might be going into a new season. That is so good. Oh man, I can be here all day. But so you work with teams and organizations. How do you help them unpack some of their leadership perspectives and build their vision and mission?
Yeah. We start with identify that, if no, recognizing even that everyone is a leader, no matter the role within the organization, because everyone can influence the success of the organization, success of the project, or whatever it is that the community that they belong in. And so when everybody
Mhm.
see themselves as a leader and helping them see that, then people start taking ownership, if you want, of what it is that the common goal is. Now it's not the supervisor's role, job to do whatever needs to be done. It's not the CEO, the director. It's like, no, this now we're all in this together. Then people say, oh, I have a part to play in making this succeed. And then from that common goal and seeing everyone as a leader, then we start connecting those individual goals. Because for all of us, if I come to an organization and I feel like I'm pouring and pouring and not getting anything in return, that's why people leave. That's where people feel burnt out.
Mm,
That's where people then start seeing me as like, I don't know what to do. I need this paycheck, but I cannot stand another second in this job, right? So we start seeing to
wow.
working with the structure of the organization to make sure that it's a win-win. It's an individual that people are growing and meeting their own personal goals while meeting the goals of the company. And that's again
Yeah.
how everybody then start being engaged in leadership.
Yeah, that's good. And I think sometimes it takes those leaders too to be aware, not just
Yes.
of themselves, but aware of the team around them. Um,
Hmm.
um, what, what's each person's strength? What does each
Yes.
person bring to the
Yes.
table? And not just that, but put them individuals in the right place. I think that sometimes organizations um, ineffectively use their leaders, and therefore you get burnout. Therefore, you get people dissatisfied on the job because they're not being utilized where they're gifted at.
Right. Right. And often I have to remind leaders, you hire that person for a reason. Let them shine. And a lot of leaders,
Oh,
and that's why we even what I started earlier saying, we're defining what leadership is, because many people think leadership it's being doing it all, calling all the shots. That's not leadership. Right? That's micromanaging, right? And that's stress ready to happen. That's crash, burnout right at your door. Right? As a leader, it's
hmm
exactly what you said. You hire people very strategically, knowing that this is what the project is, this is what the vision is, this is what I can bring to the table. Now I need people who have the skills to, and to help with the rest of the vision, to implement the rest of the vision. And like you said, you strategically place them in positions, in roles that let them shine. And we all
Yeah,
have weaknesses. Like I say all the time, I love what I do, but there's things that people might call me. I'm like that. I'm not the person for that. I can create a vision for you. I can motivate your team and get you to create an action plan, but then you guys have to take it over, right? So even as a leader, you
yeah,
have to recognize your own limitations.
yeah. So what happens now? COVID let us realize that everybody don't have to be in the office space. People want to work from home these days,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
what I'm hearing is organizations are shorthanded. Um, how can you help those leaders or these organizations that feel like, hey, I just can't seem to find the right person? And what I'm noticing, and you may notice this too, is we taking anybody that just want to come into the
Right, just put
come
a
work.
body there.
Yeah, yeah, we putting a body there.
Right.
Um, unpack that. How's that been working? What's some of the strategies behind that too, please?
Yeah. So for me, I think if you just put a body there, you're wasting time and energy because that body won't be there long, right? Then you have to spend more time, advertising for the position, hiring somebody, retraining someone, right? It takes more
And
money
that's
to
money.
hire someone than to
Yeah,
just retrain somebody already on board that's already in the company. So if it might take longer to do that to hire the best candidate, but long term, that's the best ROI you're gonna get instead of just rushing somebody there. So be patient with yourself. And if you have to, divvy out the work differently and delegate differently so that you can ride that wave, of maybe low staff, that's better than you just putting someone there, then you have to go through the entire process again. But also always starting with the end in mind, right? What am I trying to achieve? Reverse engineering, right? What are we trying
mhm,
to, accomplish with this position? What exactly the person will do, not just for their job, but for the company at large. Because if you can define those as clearly as you can, and then finds ways to measure that performance, that productivity, it becomes easier for you to know who to interview, what resume to look at, right? And what,
Mm.
what questions to ask during the interview, even how to train people to do that.
Yeah,
I have
that's
clients
good.
who get hired for one job. We've all been there. Hired for one position, you go there, it's like, this is nothing like what I thought I would be doing, right?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
not the employee's fault. That's the organization's fault.
Yeah. Yeah. And therefore, the organization hadn't did the reverse engineering piece, right? To really be clear on what they actually need. And to your point,
Right.
just putting the body there, man, that's not cost effective by no means at all. All
No.
right, man, this is a great conversation, Shua. I truly appreciate you taking time and rocking with us. Now
Yes.
I know you are author. You got a couple books out there. What's your latest book, and where can people learn more about what you do?
Yeah. So for learning more about what I do, graceandhopeconsulting.com. And the word and is spelled out A-N-D. So on there you can find more about my services, my contact info. There's also links there for the books. And so as far as writing, so actually I write and we publish also some books. So there's books that I've written with friends of others, and then there's books that I just publish for others. And as far as the books that I've written, if my latest one was Grounding Grace, which is like a faith-based devotional that got published last March. And that all my books are actually on Amazon. If you go on Amazon and just put my name, Chou Hallegra, it all going to come there. But also on the website, there are tabs there for books as well.
Good. And the latest book is, you said,
Grounding Grace.
Grounding Grace. Okay. All
Yes.
right. Good
Yeah.
stuff. What's the message in that book?
That one, it's realizing that one, if we don't learn to give ourselves grace, it's hard to embrace others. It's hard to extend something that we don't have. So the way I see myself and embrace who I am, and like I said, it's a faith book, so embrace and see myself by, through the lens of God's grace allows me to extend that grace to others. But when I write those
Mm.
devotional, very personal stories, so things that I experience, and then I take you on that journey with me, and like, let's ponder on that, let's reflect, right? Reflect together, and then there's Bible verses there to reflect more and see how that the story per se, the devotional, correlate to what the Bible says. And for those, and just throw something out there too, for those who are creating new goals for the new year, I have a workbook that's called Reinvent Yourself Workbook. That's also on Amazon. It's also on the website. In Amazon, I'm not sure when this will air, but Amazon actually has it on sale for like $6.99 instead of $20. So you can go ahead and grab that. And that talks about what reinvent yourself means, but then also gives you worksheets pretty much that I use with my own clients in different areas of life in order for you to start with now the end in mind, right? Kind of create that vision and then start working on the goals more effectively.
Yeah, that's good. Beautiful. Phenomenal. I do have one question when it relates to
Sure.
books. Um, w- what's your method for pushing books out? What's the strategy behind that?
Yeah, so it like everything in life, right? It's in try and error, right? We learn what we experiment, and then we find, this did not work. We reflect on it afterward. This didn't work too well. This one, maybe. So what I've found, one is connecting with the audience that who needs it. So with my faith books, for example, is connecting with people are putting together women men conferences, where faith-based conferences, and then asking to speak there. And so when I come speak, then I have bring the books, and I get to sell the books there and promote the books there as well. Being on interviews like this podcast, sharing what I do, because I write about the things that I do, so it's it kind of correlates to that. So it's almost giving a piece of myself, so everybody I can continue to impact lives even when I'm not there. Um,
Hmm.
the other thing too that I started doing more recently is trying to doing ads, and there's a lot of platforms out there that can get your books in front of readers, and that it's
Hmm.
been probably the less stressful way to do it. It's I right now I'm using a tool called Readers Bliss, and that's been a blessing. Honestly, it's been
Mm.
bliss for me. I actually just started using it like the end of December, and every 2 weeks I can promote a different book. So with Reinvent Yourself, for example, I posted there for, I can't remember, it was maybe December 28th to for the 2 weeks ended on the 9th, yesterday. And during that period, I had 3,646 views of the book.
Come on.
I'm even a little anxious not to go see what the sales look like. So I usually don't track the stuff until the end of the month, and I'm like, I'll get to it later. I'm like, what, in 2 weeks? That's a lot of views on the book. But again, we know that's
Yeah.
guaranteed, like, not the same amount of sales, but the more people see your books, the more people can you call it, can buy it. So that's been great experience so far as well. And then
Yeah.
yeah, with just clients, conferences that relate to the topic that I write about. I reach out to the conference, even if I'm not speaking. I say I can send books, you can put it there, and you know divvy out, make an arrangement if you want for payment, that they take me a portion of it, but still, it's taking my book in front of a broader audience than I would rather that I could on my own.
Yeah. They say books are like the new business card today, along with social media.
Yes.
Phenomenal, great. We truly appreciate it. So here, my last thing, man, close us out with a word of encouragement to the people out there. Also, share if you got social media handles and your web page once more before we go.
Sure, sure. So my webpage again, Grace and Hope Consulting.com. On social media, where it's LinkedIn, Facebook, you can find me at Instagram at Chou Hallegra. And as far as the encouragement, since we're starting this new year, and we're we talked about bringing the baggage from 2023 into 2024. I want to encourage you to take the time to reflect.
Mm.
And so before you create a new goal, new resolution for this year, go back and see what went well in 2024. What have you learned from those experiences? And even the things that did not go as you expected, what did you learn from those? And what can you do differently moving forward based on what you learned, not just based on the experience itself, based on the learning that came out of that experience. But as I
Yeah.
often say, we can learn as much, we can do as much, but what impact are you leaving on this earth? For me,
Oh, that's
every goal
good.
has to connect to the impact I'm trying to leave. So
Yeah.
make sure that if that's
Wow.
something that resonates with you, that you're aligning your goals with the impact that you're trying to make on this earth.
That's good. Aligning your goals with the impact that you want to leave on this earth. That's good. That's phenomenal. Good stuff, Chou. Ladies, gentlemen, this is the Leadership Podcast. Man, we've been blessed with Chou Hallegra. Listen, go check her out. Go follow her. Uh, Check out her webpage, graceandhopeconsulting.com. Go check out the books on Amazon. Bring her in. You're looking for a speaker? Listen, connect with Chou. I'm sure she will be a delight and an encouragement for your audience. Listen, as you always hear me say, I want to first say thank you for taking time and rocking with us on the Leadership Podcast. Never miss an opportunity to grow yourself, man. Subscribe to the podcast today by clicking the link there in the show notes, as well as realize that you have everything to take your life to the next level. That's simply because your success is in your hands. I'm your boy, Dwayne Roberts. Have a phenomenal day with purpose.